Here's part 1 of the story in approximately 800 words written in third person with simple English. Alien girls only rescuers, the fierce humans, the deep space mining ship Horizon, drifted silently through the darkness between stars. Inside the control room, Captain Junho sat in his chair, looking at star maps on the big screen. The ship had been mining rare minerals for 3 weeks now. The crew was tired but happy with their good work. "Captain, I'm getting a strange signal," said Sora, the young communications officer. Her fingers moved quickly over her control panel. "It's very weak, but it's definitely not random space noise." Junho walked over to Sora's station. "Can you clean it up?" Sora nodded and worked on the signal for several minutes. The other crew members stopped their work to watch. Finally, a scratchy voice came through the speakers. "Help, crashed on moon, running out of air. Anyone please respond." The voice sounded strange and musical. Definitely not human. The crew looked at each other in surprise. "It's coming from the Talus system," Sora said. "About 2 days away at full speed." Junho frowned. "That's far from any normal space routes. What's a ship doing out there?" Minho, the ship's science officer, checked his computer. "The Talus system isn't claimed by any species. No valuable resources were ever found there." Sora kept working on the signal. "I'm getting more now. It's from a Zelani ship." "The Zelani are those blue-skinned aliens with the big eyes, right?" "Yes," said Junho. "They're very advanced but don't like to talk to humans much. They think we're too simple and violent." The voice came through again, clearer this time. "This is Research Assistant Lena of the Zelani Science Academy. Our ship crashed during a storm. I'm the only survivor. Life support failing. Please, if anyone hears this," the message repeated. Junho looked around at his crew. They all knew what this meant. The mining company wouldn't be happy if they left their work to go on a rescue mission. But they couldn't ignore someone who needed help. "Minho, what do we know about the Talus system?" Junho asked. Minho checked his computer again. "Not much. The fourth moon of Talus Prime has breathable air but extreme weather. Temperatures range from very hot to very cold. Dangerous electric storms are common." "Sounds like a nice vacation spot," joked Daehyun, the ship's pilot. But nobody laughed. "Can the Zelani send their own rescue ships?" asked Junho. Sora shook her head. "The message says she already called for help from her people, but the nearest Zelani ship is 2 weeks away." Junho made his decision. Daehyun set course for the Talus system, maximum speed. "Sora, send a message to the company explaining our change of plans. Also, respond to the Zelani and tell her we're coming." "Sir," said Jiwoo, the first officer. "The company won't like this. We might all lose our jobs." "I know," said Junho. "Anyone who wants to register a formal complaint can do so, but I won't leave someone to die if we can help, even if they are Zelani." Nobody complained. They all felt the same way. Sora sent a message to the Zelani researcher. "This is the Earth mining ship Horizon. We've received your distress call and are coming to help. ETA approximately 48 hours. Please conserve your resources. Can you tell us more about your situation?" The response came quickly. "Human ship? Thank you. My research vessel crashed during a magnetic storm. The ship's hull is broken. I'm in the emergency shelter, but life support is failing. Air will run out in 3 days. The storms here are very dangerous. My people tried to help but couldn't reach me in time." As the Horizon changed course, Minho studied everything he could find about the Zelani. "They're physically weaker than humans. Their home planet has low gravity and a perfect climate. They've evolved to be very smart but not very tough." "So a human could survive conditions that would kill a Zelani?" asked Junho. "Definitely," said Minho. "Their bodies can't handle extreme temperatures, high gravity, or physical injuries the way ours can." For the next 2 days, the crew prepared for the rescue mission. They checked their environment suits, gathered medical supplies, and studied the limited information about Talus 4. "The Zelani don't think much of humans," Sora told Junho privately. "In our database, they describe us as primitive but curiously resilient." Junho smiled slightly. Maybe our primitive resilience is exactly what Lena needs right now. As the horizon approached the Talus system, they could see the massive storms swirling across Talus 4's surface. Lightning flashed continuously in the thick clouds. Those storms would tear apart most ships, said Daehyun. No wonder the Zelani crashed. And no wonder her people can't rescue her, added Junho. But we're not giving up that easily. Prepare the landing shuttle. We're going down to get her. The crew of the Horizon didn't know it yet, but they were about to change how the entire galaxy viewed humans forever. The shuttle from the Horizon broke through the thick clouds of Talus 4, battling fierce winds that shook the small craft like a toy. Daehyun gripped the controls tightly, his face tense with concentration. Beside him, Junho watched as lightning flashed around them, dangerously close. This is why the Zelani couldn't send help, muttered Junho. Their ships are advanced but delicate. These storms would tear them apart. The shuttle lurched sideways as a powerful gust hit them. Warning lights flashed on the control panel. I can handle it, said Daehyun, though sweat ran down his face. But we need to land soon. Minho studied the sensor readings. Lena's signal is coming from that valley about 10 kilometers ahead. The storms seem a bit calmer there. The 3 crew members, Junho, Daehyun, and Minho, wore heavy environment suits designed for extreme conditions. They had brought a 4th suit for Lena, though they weren't sure if it would fit her alien form. As they descended toward the valley, they got their first clear view of the moon's surface. It was a harsh landscape of jagged rocks and deep crevices. The ground glowed red in some places from heat, while other areas were covered in frost. Strange electrical discharges jumped between rock formations. Life support check, ordered Junho. They each confirmed their suits were working properly. Daehyun found a relatively flat area to land. The shuttle touched down with a hard bump, and they felt the strong gravity of the moon pulling at them. Gravity is 1.4 times Earth normal, said Minho, checking his instruments. Temperature outside is fluctuating wildly, from -20 to +60 degrees Celsius within minutes. Air is thin but breathable in an emergency. High electrical activity in the atmosphere. No wonder Lena is in trouble, said Junho. Let's move quickly. They exited the shuttle, immediately feeling the heavy pull of gravity. The wind howled around them, carrying particles that pinged against their helmet visors. Each step required effort in the strong gravity and their heavy suits. Lena, this is Captain Junho of the Horizon. We've landed and are coming to your position. Can you hear me? A weak voice responded. I hear you. I can't believe you actually came and landed in these conditions. We're tougher than we look, said Junho. Stay where you are. We're on our way. They followed the signal, trudging over the difficult terrain. After about 30 minutes of walking, they came to a deep crack in the ground. At the bottom, partially buried under rocks, was the Zelani ship. It was sleek and elegant in design, but now broken and dark. Her ship is about 20 meters down, said Minho. We'll need to climb. They secured ropes and began the careful descent into the crevice. The walls occasionally glowed with heat, forcing them to find alternative routes. Halfway down, a tremor shook the ground and rocks tumbled past them. This moon is geologically unstable, again, warned Minho. We need to hurry. When they reached the ship, they found the main entrance crushed. They had to use their tools to cut through the thin metal of the hull in another section. Inside, emergency lights cast a dim blue glow. The artificial gravity was off, but the moon's natural gravity kept them grounded. They followed the life signs to a small emergency pod. Inside, they found Lena. She was smaller than they expected, about the size of a human child. Her skin was pale blue and her large, dark eyes widened at the sight of the humans in their bulky suits. She wore a thin protective suit of her own, but it appeared damaged. You're humans? She asked, her voice weak but clear through their comm system. Yes, said Junho. I'm Captain Junho. This is Daehyun and Minho. We're here to take you home. Lena stared at them in wonder. My people said humans were too primitive to be worth serious diplomatic relations. They said your ships were crude and your bodies fragile. Daehyun laughed. Well, our primitive ship just landed in a storm that kept your people away. And as for fragile, He helped Lena to her feet as another tremor shook the pod. "Let's get you out of here and you can judge for yourself." They carefully fitted the human environment suit over Lena's smaller form. It was too big, but they adjusted it as best they could. The suit would protect her from the harsh conditions outside. "The gravity here," she said, struggling to stand even with their help. "It's crushing me." "We'll carry you," said Junho simply. As they prepared to leave, the strongest tremor yet shook the crashed ship. Metal groaned, and a section of the ceiling collapsed nearby. "This whole area is becoming unstable," said Minho urgently. "The ship could be buried at any moment." Junho lifted Lena easily despite the heavy gravity. To the humans, she felt almost weightless. They began the difficult climb out of the crevice with Lena clinging to Junho's back. As they neared the top, a massive lightning bolt struck nearby, blasting rock fragments in all directions. One large piece hit Minho's helmet, cracking his visor. Air began to hiss out. "My suit's compromised," he said calmly, though they all knew what this meant. Daehyun quickly applied emergency sealant from his kit, temporarily stopping the leak. "That should hold until we reach the shuttle, but don't talk much, conserve your air." Lena watched in amazement. "You're so calm. Any Zelani would be panicking." "Panic doesn't help," said Junho simply. "We train for emergencies." They finally reached the surface and began the trek back to their shuttle. The storm had intensified and they could barely see through the swirling dust and electrical discharges. Lena, watching the humans struggle through conditions that would kill any of her people instantly, began to understand that what her species had dismissed as primitive might actually be something else entirely. It might just be the fierce strength needed to survive in a hostile universe. The shuttle seemed tiny as it sat on the vast, hostile surface of Talos 4. Inside, Minho's breathing had become labored. The crack in his helmet was getting worse despite the emergency sealant. "We need to get back to the horizon quickly," said Junho, looking at the oxygen levels in Minho's suit with concern. Lena spoke up from where she sat, still wrapped in the oversized human environment suit. "Your friend needs medical attention, but the storm, they're getting worse." Daehyun checked the shuttle's systems. His face fell. "Bad news. The landing damaged our main thruster. We can take off, but we won't have enough power to break through. The atmosphere." Silence filled the small cabin as they absorbed this information. They were stranded. "How long until the horizon realizes something is wrong?" asked Minho, his voice weak. "Standard check-in is in 4 hours," replied Junho. "If we miss it, they'll know there's trouble." "Can they send another shuttle?" asked Lena. Junho shook his head. "We only have one, but they might be able to move the main ship into the atmosphere to pick us up." "In these storms?" Lena looked doubtful. "Even your ship isn't that strong." "You'd be surprised," said Daehyun with a small smile. Junho made a decision. "We need to find higher ground. The shuttle's communication system can't break through these storms from here. We need to get to that ridge." He pointed to a high formation about 2 kilometers away. "That's too far," protested Lena. "And look at the electrical discharges up there." "It's our best chance," said Junho firmly. "Minho, you stay in the shuttle. Conserve your oxygen. Daehyun, Lena, and I will go to the ridge and set up a signal booster." Minho tried to argue but was too weak. They secured him in the shuttle with the remaining emergency oxygen. Junho, Daehyun, and Lena stepped out into the storm again. The wind had grown even stronger, and strange lightning danced between the rock formations around them. "Stay close," shouted Junho over the howling wind. They began the difficult climb toward the ridge. The terrain became steeper. Lena struggled with each step, even though the human suit protected her from the worst of the conditions. "The gravity," she gasped. "It's crushing me." Without a word, Daehyun lifted her onto his back. "Hold tight," he said simply. They continued the climb, now with Daehyun carrying Lena. Junho led the way, testing each path for stability. The ground shook periodically with tremors, and rocks tumbled down around them. Halfway up, a particularly Violent tremor shook the ridge. A huge section of rock broke away, heading straight for them. "Look out!" shouted Junho, pushing Daehyun and Lena out of the path of the landslide. The rocks crashed down where they had been standing moments before. When the dust cleared, Junho was nowhere to be seen. "Captain," called Daehyun frantically. There was no response. Lena pointed to a pile of rocks. "There! I see his suit!" They rushed over and began digging through the fallen rocks. They found Junho trapped underneath, his leg pinned by a large boulder. "I'm okay," he grunted, though his face was tight with pain. "Just stuck." Daehyun tried to move the boulder but couldn't. "It's too heavy." "Go on without me," said Junho. "Get to the ridge. Send the signal." Daehyun shook his head. "We're not leaving you, Captain." Lena had been examining the boulder and the surrounding rocks. "I have an idea," she said. "If we can't lift it, maybe we can break it." She pointed to one of the electrical discharges nearby. "Those energy bursts, they follow metal. If we create a path with your tools." Daehyun understood immediately. He placed his metal tools in a line from the electrical discharge to the boulder. They retreated to a safe distance. When the next discharge came, it followed the metal path and struck the boulder with incredible force. The rock split into smaller pieces that they could move. Junho was free, but his leg was badly injured. "I can't walk," he admitted. "Then I'll carry you both," said Daehyun. "Don't be ridiculous," said Junho. "You can't carry two people in this. Gravity." "Watch me," replied Daehyun. With a grunt of effort, he lifted Junho over one shoulder and let Lena climb onto his back again. Lena was astounded. "How are you doing this? The gravity here would crush a Zelani trying to carry such weight. Humans evolved on a world with challenges," gasped Daehyun as he began climbing again. "We had to be strong to survive." Step by painful step, Daehyun carried them up the ridge. His muscles screamed in protest, but he didn't stop. Sweat poured down his face inside his helmet, and his breathing became labored. Lena watched in amazement. In her culture, such physical strain was unknown. Zelani used machines for any difficult task. She had never seen such raw determination. As they neared the top of the ridge, the electrical storm intensified. Lightning struck all around them, leaving scorched marks on the rocks. "We're almost there," encouraged Lena, feeling helpless but wanting to support Daehyun somehow. With a final supreme effort, Daehyun reached the top of the ridge. He gently set down Junho and Lena before collapsing to his knees in exhaustion. Junho quickly set up the signal booster despite his injury. "Horizon, this is Captain Junho. Do you read me?" After a tense moment, Sora's voice came through. "Captain, we've been trying to reach you. What's happening?" "Shuttle damaged. One injured crew member. We need extraction. Can you bring the ship down?" There was a pause. "The storms are too strong for a normal approach, but Jiwoo has an idea. She says we can do a high-speed dive through the atmosphere, using the ship's momentum to break through the storm layer. It's risky." "Do it," ordered Junho. "And hurry. Minho is running out of oxygen in the shuttle." They waited on the ridge, watching the violent sky above. Lena sat between the two humans, thinking about everything she had seen. "Why did you come for me?" she asked suddenly. "Your people and mine barely speak to each other. The Zelani Council considers humans too primitive for a meaningful alliance." Junho looked at her. "Because you needed help. That's enough for us. But you've risked your lives. You've suffered injuries." Daehyun, still catching his breath, managed to smile. "That's what humans do. We help each other. And as far as we're concerned, each other includes anyone who needs help, human or not." Lena fell silent, considering this simple but profound statement. She had grown up believing that advanced technology and intelligence were the measure of a species' worth. Now she wondered if her people had been measuring the wrong things all along. Above them, the clouds began to glow as something massive pushed through the storm. The horizon was coming. The horizon descended through the storm clouds like a falling star, its hull glowing red from the heat of atmospheric entry. Sora had plotted a high-speed approach, using the ship's momentum to punch through the worst of the storm layer. The massive mining vessel was never designed for such a maneuver, but the crew had no choice. On the ridge, Junho, Daehyun, and Lena watched the approaching ship with hope and fear. The ground beneath them trembled constantly. Now, the entire moon seemed to be becoming more unstable by the minute. They're coming in too fast, worried Daehyun. The landing will be rough. Junho nodded, his face grim. We still need to get back to Minho. His oxygen must be nearly gone by now. The horizon managed to slow its descent enough to hover about 50 meters above the ground, near their position on the ridge. It was still too high for a direct rescue, and the winds made it impossible to lower any smaller craft. Jiwoo's voice came through their comms. Captain, we can't get any lower. The storm is pushing us around too much, and our scans show the moon's core is becoming dangerously unstable. We need to leave this system within the hour. Understood, said Junho. Can you get a lock on Minho's position and extract him first? Working on it, replied Jiwoo. But you three need to get up here too. Junho looked at the distance between them and the hovering ship. We'll need to use the emergency ascent cables. Lena's eyes widened. You mean climb up in this storm? We don't have a choice, said Junho. The horizon managed to lower 3 cables despite the violent winds. Each cable ended in a harness designed to pull up a person in an emergency. I'll go last, said Junho. Lena, you go first. Lena hesitated. I've never done anything like this. Just hold on tight, said Daehyun, helping her into the harness. The cable will do all the work. As they secured Lena in the harness, a massive tremor shook the ridge. Cracks appeared in the rock beneath their feet. The signal from the ship became urgent. Captain, the moon is breaking apart. We're detecting massive seismic activity. Lena looked at the 2 humans who had risked everything to save her. Come with me, she pleaded. We can share a harness. Junho shook his head. Too risky. The harnesses are designed for 1 person. Go now. They activated Lena's harness, and she began to rise toward the ship. The winds buffeted her small form violently, but the cable held. Watching her ascent, Junho and Daehyun didn't notice the widening crack behind them until it was too late. The section of ridge they stood on suddenly broke away. They fell, sliding down the steep slope with the tumbling rocks. Junho cried out as his injured leg struck a boulder. Daehyun managed to grab onto a protruding rock, catching Junho's arm with his free hand. They hung there, dangling over a deep chasm that had opened below. Their remaining 2 ascent cables flapped uselessly in the wind, too far to reach. Above them, Lena had reached the safety of the ship. She was horrified to see the humans' predicament through the viewport. They're falling. We have to help them, Jiwoo. And the bridge crew watched in dismay. We can't get the cables to them in this wind, said Jiwoo. And the moon is coming apart. We need to leave now. No, cried Lena. You can't abandon them. Meanwhile, Daehyun's grip was weakening. I can't. Hold on much longer, he gasped to Junho. Let me go, said Junho. Save yourself. Not happening, Captain, grunted Daehyun. Aboard the Horizon, Lena had run to the equipment bay. She found a Zelani emergency kit that had been brought aboard with her. Inside was a device her people used for scientific research, a gravity manipulator. She rushed back to the bridge. Lower me back down, she demanded. I can help them. It's too dangerous, protested Jiwoo. Those humans risked everything for me, said Lena fiercely. Now I will do the same for them. Reluctantly, Jiwoo agreed. Lena was lowered back down on a cable, fighting the fierce winds. She reached the broken ridge and activated the gravity manipulator. The device created a small field of reduced gravity around her. Jump toward me, she called to the humans. Daehyun looked at Junho. Together? Junho nodded. Together. With the last of his strength, Daehyun pushed off from the rock, pulling Junho with him. They jumped toward Lena, expecting to fall into the chasm. Instead, they found themselves floating gently in the reduced gravity field. Lena guided them to her position and attached them to her harness. Hold on to me, she said. My device can make us light enough for 1 cable to lift all 3. As they rose toward the ship, the moon began to break apart beneath them. Huge cracks spread across the surface, and molten material from the core began to seep through. They reached the horizon just as Minho was brought aboard from the shuttle. His oxygen had nearly run out, but he was alive. The ship immediately began its ascent, racing against the moon's final collapse. From the viewport, they watched as Talos 4 broke into pieces, becoming a cloud of debris orbiting the gas giant. The horizon barely escaped the shockwave. In the medical bay, as the humans received treatment for their injuries, Lena stood watching them with new eyes. Her entire understanding of humans had changed. "My people call you primitive," she said softly, "but I've never seen such strength, such courage, such humanity." Junho smiled through his pain. "Maybe being primitive isn't so bad after all." Lena nodded. "I will tell my people what happened here. They need to understand what I now see. That advanced technology isn't everything. Sometimes what you need most is the fierce will to survive and to help others survive too." The horizon accelerated away from the Talos system, carrying its crew and their unexpected alien friend toward home, and toward a new understanding between their peoples. The horizon docked at Orbital Station 7, a busy hub where ships from many worlds came to trade. 3 weeks had passed since the rescue mission. Minho had recovered from his oxygen deprivation. Junho still walked with a slight limp, but the doctors said he would heal completely in time. The mining company, after hearing the full story, decided not to punish the crew for changing their route. Lena had stayed with them during the journey back. She spent hours each day talking with different crew members, learning about human culture, history, and daily life. She was especially interested in Earth stories about people helping strangers in danger. "In Zeleni culture," she explained to Hangho one evening, "we value intelligence and technological advancement above all. Physical strength and endurance are considered primitive traits from our evolutionary past." "Different worlds create different values," replied Junho. "Humans had to fight to survive on Earth for thousands of years. We still remember those lessons in our bodies." News of the rescue had spread quickly. The Zeleni government had sent a diplomatic ship to meet them at the station. It would be the first official meeting between humans and Zeleni in over 50 years. As they prepared to disembark, Lena seemed nervous. "Ambassador Nevin is very traditional. He has always supported the policy of limited contact with humans. Maybe meeting us will change his mind," said Daehyun optimistically. They entered the station's main conference room. Ambassador Nivan waited there with several other Zeleni officials. Like Lena, they were smaller than humans, with blue skin and large dark eyes. They wore elegant silver clothing that seemed to flow like water. "Research Assistant Lena," said Nevin coldly, "you have caused quite a disturbance." "I apologize, Ambassador," replied Lena, bowing her head, "but I would have died without the humans' help." Nivan turned to examine the humans. "Captain Junho, we acknowledge your assistance in rescuing our citizen. The Zeleni government will provide suitable compensation for your trouble." "It wasn't trouble," said Junho firmly, "and we don't need payment for helping someone in danger." "Nevertheless," said Nevin, "the matter is concluded. Lena will return with us. The Zeleni High Council has reviewed your reports but remains unconvinced that closer relations with humans would benefit either of our species." Lena stepped forward. "Ambassador, with respect, I must disagree." Nevin looked surprised. Research assistants did not usually challenge ambassadors. "I have spent 3 weeks among humans," continued Lena. "I have seen qualities our reports never mentioned. Yes, they are physically stronger than us. Yes, their technology is less advanced, but they possess something we have lost." "And what might that be?" asked Nevin with a touch of condescension. "Fierce compassion," said Lena. "They risked their lives for a stranger from a species that has rejected them. They endured pain and hardship without complaint. When I was the one who needed to save them, they trusted me completely despite having no reason to do so." The room was silent. Lena continued, her voice growing stronger. "Our ancestors survived by becoming smarter, by building machines to protect them from physical challenges. Humans survived by becoming tougher, by facing challenges directly. Both approaches worked, but now we face threats. Neither approach can solve alone. The galaxy is changing, new dangers emerge. We need both intelligence and strength. Ambassador Nevin frowned. These are matters for the High Council to decide, not a junior researcher. Then I request to address the High Council, said Lena, boldly. And I ask that Captain Junho and his crew be allowed to speak as well. Impossible, said Nevin. No human has ever appeared before the Council. Then perhaps it's time for that to change, came a new voice. Everyone turned to see another, Zeleny entering the room. This one wore elaborate robes marked with symbols of high office. Counselor Trell, gasped Nevin. I wasn't informed of your arrival. I came to see these humans for myself, said Trell, approaching Junho. Though small in stature, the counselor had an air of quiet authority. Our long-range sensors recorded everything that happened on Talos 4. Most impressive, Captain. Few beings would have attempted such a rescue. Fewer still would have succeeded. Junho bowed slightly. My crew deserves the credit, Counselor. Indeed, said Trell, looking at all the humans. In the past 1,000 years, the Zeleny have encountered many species. Some had impressive technology. Some had powerful warships. But it has been a long time since we met a species with such heart. Trell turned to Ambassador Nevin. The High Council has reconsidered our position on relations with humans. We believe there is much our peoples could learn from each other. Nevin looked shocked but quickly composed himself. Of course, Counselor. I will make the necessary arrangements. In the days that followed, a formal alliance was proposed between Earth and the Zeleny homeworld. The Horizon's crew were hailed as heroes in both cultures. Lena was appointed as the first Zeleny ambassador to Earth, with Junho serving as her human counterpart. Before departing for her new post, Lena visited the Horizon one last time. My people had a saying, she told the crew gathered in the mess hall. Advanced minds rule the stars, but you've taught me a different truth. Sometimes what the universe needs most is not the most advanced mind but the fiercest heart. Junho raised his cup in a toast. To fierce hearts and brilliant minds, working together. As their cups clinked together, human and Zeleny, no one needed to say what they all knew. That sometimes rescue comes from the most unexpected places. And that true understanding begins when we look beyond our assumptions to see the strength in others.